She was 82 when she finally shared a secret she had carried in her heart for 40 years. A story of love, of loss, and of the courage it takes to face loneliness head on. When I heard it, I realized sometimes the wisdom of the elderly can heal wounds we didn't even know we had. Hello, and welcome to Quiet Wisdom. Here we don't chase noise. We sit with life's whispers, the soft truths of aging, love, regret, and courage. Today I'll tell you the story of Eleanor, an elderly woman from Ohio whose one choice at 40 changed the rest of her life. And in her words, you may find a reflection of your own journey. Eleanor was 40 when her husband passed suddenly from a heart attack. She was left with 2 children in a house that felt much too big. Friends visited at first, but over time, the visits slowed, the phone calls stopped, and loneliness became her closest companion. She told me it wasn't the silence that hurt the most. It was the feeling that I had disappeared, like the world moved on and forgot me. And so for years she lived quietly, cooking for one, sleeping alone, smiling at neighbors who barely noticed. But here's where Eleanor's story took a turn. At 65, while walking past the local library, she noticed a flyer. Senior Writing Group, share your story. For weeks, she stared at that flyer, but never went inside. She thought, who would care about my life? I'm just an old woman with ordinary memories. Finally, one cold autumn morning, she gathered her courage, walked in, and introduced herself. That day changed everything. The group listened as she told her first story, about her husband, about the night she lost him, and about how grief had shaped her. When she finished, the room was silent, and then one woman stood up, hugged her, and whispered, "That's my story too." Eleanor realized something powerful. The pain she carried was not just hers. By sharing it, she gave others permission to heal too. At 82, Eleanor finally published a collection of her stories titled The Quiet Years. It wasn't a bestseller, but that wasn't the point. She told me with tears in her eyes, I thought I had nothing left to give, but it turns out my story was my greatest gift. That one book brought her children closer, inspired her grandchildren, and even strangers wrote her letters saying, "Thank you. You put my feelings into words." Eleanor's loneliness turned into connection, not because her circumstances changed, but because she chose to share her truth. Her story reminds us, loneliness doesn't end when people return. It ends when we find the courage to connect, to share, and to be seen. No matter your age, whether 35, 55, or 85, your story matters. Someone out there needs to hear it. If Eleanor's story touched your heart, I invite you to join the circle of wisdom. Subscribe to Quiet Wisdom, and let's continue honoring the voices of those who have lived, loved, and learned. Because in every quiet story lies a lesson that can change a life.